Wisco Disco. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the podcast here on all the different platforms. Thank you for stopping out. Hopefully, your day is going well. Happy Faded Friday. Jill is here on time. What's up, Jill? Appreciate you big time. Hope you're rocking them sweaters still. The weather's changing. We might have to find you some shirts. Got some new things coming out, so keep an eye on that. But no, appreciate everyone swinging out. Always like to kind of kick things off. Giving a quick shout out to our sponsors, Higher Love, much love to the folks up there at Higher Love. We got the promo code here in the comments for you, also on the top of the screen. Get you 15% off your purchase there. Definitely nice on the pocketbook when you get to use that one. But appreciate everything they're doing for us, making this possible, being a partner of the show, and getting things rocking. Speaking of partners, we also got Ignite Dispensary to my right, left on the screen, however we want to word that one. They're located across Wisconsin. Make sure you give them a check out if you're in Wisconsin. We got cool things coming up with them. Make sure you stay tuned on the page, including the lounge that's open in Manitowoc now. So if you're in the Manitowoc area, make sure you swing over there. They got the largest selection of drinks I've ever seen in the state of Wisconsin. Well, actually, most dispensaries up north don't have a huge selection of drinks. And again, that's the Delta 9 drinks. So they're awesome. Make sure you swing out there, give them a check out. Randy, what's up? Randy's in the building. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Appreciate it. Wanted to kind of catch up on some news today. Being Friday, we like to kind of look at the weekend review as far as news goes. Obviously, this week we had a pretty big announcement when it comes to reclassification of. Oh, why is that? Hang on. I don't want that to be that big. I did something wrong. There we go. As far as Schedule 3, the information has been brought to the attention of the AP that is going to be rescheduled from a class. Cannabis will be rescheduled from a class 1 to a class 3 substance. There's been a lot of people with some hot takes on that. The thing that I recommend to everybody is the devil's going to be in the details. It's hard to say what they're going to have in there. We got to hope and do whatever we can as far as advocacy goes to make sure that this doesn't open the door for pharma to come taking over and start slinging everything through their pharmaceutical ways. We know how that goes, which is obviously a little bit of a concern, being that unfortunately it seems like politics is tied very heavily to money influence. And I'm going to guess pharmaceuticals and tech got to be the two biggest out there. So let's see what shakes out. It'll be interesting. The good news is it's being taken out of the same category. However we chop it up, it's being taken out of the same category as meth, heroin, your class 1 scheduled drugs. So that's a huge plus. It's again, if you looked back 50 years ago and you said, hey, it was going to get rescheduled, no one would have believed you. I think we got to take it as a victory, but it needs to be done right. Just like even when Wisconsin goes legal, that's awesome. But how is it going to be done? It's got to be done fairly. It's got to be done with the best interests at mind. And unfortunately, again, with politics, money, we got to stay on top of that stuff. So we got to stay tuned. We got to see what the details of this are. But I did find an article. I wanted to grab someone's take. So I grabbed this as an article from the Associated Press on what reclassification means for the United States. I wanted to see what they had as far as this goes. It says exactly, technically nothing yet. The proposal must be reviewed by the White House Office of Management and Budget, and then undergo a public comment period and review from an administrative judge, a potentially lengthy process. Hopefully during that process, we'll be able to share insight on the fact that it should be completely descheduled. Again, I don't know if that, if they're going to listen to that, but we're a hearing session on cannabis and where it stands. That's huge. So we'll take it. It says here, the switch is considered paradigm shifting and very exciting. This is according to an Oregon-based cannabis and psychedelics attorney who runs a well-known legal blog. Looks like he said, I can't emphasize how big of news it is. Burton, what's up, man? Thanks for swinging by. And again, the fact that the president of the United States has been talking a lot about this, I feel like that should help get this thing moving. Hopefully, it's not just for votes. It's all again politics. It shouldn't be this difficult. It'd be really nice if we could just know that people had the best interests in mind at all times. But as it appears, it's being talked about. It's getting reclassified, and to me, that's we got to take our wins where we can, right? I mean, let's not let pharma into this or whatever we do, and just think about all the different strains. Like I can't see it would take so long for pharmaceutical companies to all of a sudden be, oh, you got back pain. Well, this sativa strain, OG could or not. You know what I mean? Though, like they're not going to know this strain is better for that, and that I really hope it doesn't turn into them getting involved. But um, as far as he continues to go on here, looks like putting it simply, this move from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 is not getting people out of jail. That would obviously be the huge concern and something that you would love to see. Robert, what's up, man? Robert, the master of makers, master maker over there. But rescheduling itself would have some impact, particularly on research and business taxes. But that's also got to really open the door to be able to stronghold the fact that cannabis is not this terrible thing. Like, it's got to be a win, right? It's got to be a win as far as it's coming down a couple notches on the list. Um, Again, would we love to see this completely descheduled? 100%. And it should be. We know that. But we're talking politics, which we don't actually understand because it's so not how it should be. And we can't just fix that. So I'm trying to keep a level head about it. But again, it is a federal change coming, which any federal change is huge. And we're talking about something that's just been voodoo for so long. Burton says they aren't going to do strains. They're going to isolate and push derivatives and synthetics. Exactly. That's my concern. All the cannabinoids and then also all the terpenes. There's so much health benefits of the plant. If big pharma would, it's not made for big pharma at all. We all know that. Burton says they don't prescribe morphine or cocaine, but they do isolate and synthesize. Right? That's true. Jill says we need to stand on corners with signs saying to legalize Wisconsin, right? Hey, Jill, you'll be happy to know I was talking to a couple folks, a couple activists and advocates, and we're in the early stages discussion, trying to figure out, but it's looking like we're going to be trying to do like almost like our own little grassroots tour while apparently all the politicians are on break. It'd be great to see if some of them would come out, but setting up meetups at town halls and just getting us, the people, together to talk about cannabis. And Thorpe was one of the first places that came up, or your neck of the woods, because we see you struggling out there. So stay tuned on that. We know you're struggling. It's sad, but we're gonna figure out something with the weather changing here. It's time to mobilize. It's time to get together. So continuing on with this article here, it looks like Schedule 3 drugs are easier to study, though the reclassification won't immediately reverse all barriers to the study. Unfortunately, it's going to be really confusing for a long time. That's according to the University of California, Los Angeles Center for Cannabis and Cannabinoids. When the dust is settled, I don't know how many years from now research will be easier. Yeah, let's not drag our feet on this. Let's again, we talk about this all the time when we talk about things in the news and how cannabis is such a, they gotta drag it out, they gotta mix it up, they can't just ever make up their mind. It never makes sense. Anything cannabis, for the most part, is just a mess when it comes to the law being involved. It just should not be difficult. Cannabis helps people. It shouldn't have to drag out for this research to go through. Let's be realistic about it. Why do we got to follow the old ways of everything taking forever? Cannabis has been outlawed way too long. It's frustrating. So, again, I think it's going to really shake out to what the details are when it comes into effect. And it sounds like they're going to be working on that for, I think they planned on 2 months, working out the details of the law. So, we'll see what that holds. Really wish they would again, those listening sessions. Hopefully, they listen to the people. Uh, excuse me. Victoria says my body needs weed legalized. Arthritis sucks. Hear you there, 100%. Know a lot of people that get relief from the plant for that. So we hear you. We're trying. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna keep doing it. We did have some other exciting news. Looks like Ho Chunk Nation decriminalizes cannabis. Shout out to the Ho Chunk. I wanted to check into a little bit on that. It looks like we got an article here from the Milwaukee Journal. Across the country, we've seen the benefits of cannabis. This is Kristen White Eagle, who serves as a member of the Ho Chunk Nation tribal legislator. It's time to move forward and end to this prohibition. They voted on this on the 30th of April. They reasoned that millions of dollars in potential revenue leaves Wisconsin every year as residents buy cannabis for surrounding states that have legalized it. Bingo. All right. The Ho Chunk Nation recognizes that cannabis and its derivatives. What? Hang on. Completely lost where I was there. The Ho Chunk Nation recognizes that cannabis and its derivatives are natural growth plants with medicinal and industrial applications. The tribe said in a statement, indigenous people have used cannabis and hemp for hundreds of years for a variety of purposes, and the Ho Chunk Nation acknowledges its functional purpose. Kudos to you, folks. That's awesome to hear. Yes, let's go. Cannabis is illegal in Wisconsin on the federal level, but the tribe said it anticipates entering the cannabis business once it becomes legal in the state. Tribal law experts say there's still a legal question about whether tribal nations can allow cannabis sales on federal trust reservation land that isn't subject to local jurisdiction or taxes, but still must abide by federal law. According to, looks like they checked in with a Michigan law professor who specializes in tribal law. He doubts tribal nations can have much success in that endeavor without a change in the federal law. He says the only way to do that would be on tribal trust land / Indian country land. And since federal law still bans cannabis, no, there's no way. Damn. But the Ho Chunk are getting out in front of it, which is awesome to see. And we got a quick quote in this article here from Rob, our buddy Rob Perro with the ICIA. He says tribes are able today to self-determine their interest in cannabis, and the complex landscapes requires the navigation of local, tribal, state, and federal policy. We see the reclassification empowering tribes to engage meaningfully throughout the supply chain, from farming to processing to retail and more, as well as to facilitate interstate, nation-to-nation commerce. Yes. Shout out to, again, the Ho Chunk for getting on top of that and decriminalizing cannabis. That's what's up. Maybe we can get some of our state leaders to sit down with the fine folks over here and take a page out of their book and get educated from the Ho Chunk. So, again, kudos to the Ho Chunk. Burton says it would be really great to see Native Americans take a hold of this industry. 100%, man. I agree with that. Danny agrees as well. What's up, Danny? Yes, sir. All right. Let's see what else we got cooking. This was interesting. This kind of slipped past the headlines for the most part with the talk of the rescheduling from 1 to 3. I believe it was the same day. U.S. senators introduced a bill to legalize cannabis. Looks like there was a group of 18 Democratic senators this week reintroduced a bill to legalize cannabis nationwide. Oh, it was a day after it was revealed that the U.S. government would reclassify cannabis under federal law. So the legislation, known as the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, was introduced in the Senate on Wednesday by Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, Senate Majority Chuck Schumer, and Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, with co-sponsorships of 15 other lawmakers. Jump around. What's up, Phil? How's it going, buddy? So Schumer is quoted as saying, it's past time for the federal government to catch up to the attitudes of the American people when it comes to cannabis. That's why we're reintroducing the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, legislation that would finally end the federal prohibition on cannabis while prioritizing safety, research, workers' rights, and restorative justice. He continued to say, we have more work to do to address decades of overcriminalization. particularly in communities of color. But today's reintroduction shows the movement is growing, and I will keep working until we achieve meaningful change. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get some bipartisanship support on the subject. That seems to be the issue when it comes to Wisconsin and a couple of the other holdout states to this point. Again, we as the constituents, we just need to keep doing our part, which is not letting our, not making this a party thing. It's unfortunate that it seems to be that way in certain instances with politics, but we need to keep on our elected officials at every level. This is not a political issue. This is a social issue. The majority has spoken. We are coming. We are uniting. And there's no reason that our politicians shouldn't either. So far, 24 states have legalized, 35 have passed legislation to permit. I want to see if they talked a little more about this. The comprehensive legislation goes further under the CSA that has advanced by the Department of Health and Human Services last year. If approved by the White House Office of Management and Budget, the proposal would remove cannabis from Schedule 1. Strictest cost. Yep, we talked about that. Place under Schedule 3. We talked about that as well. So, again, hopefully we can get things to not be tied to politics in this country, and we can actually just start looking out for the people and what's right and what's fair, what's just. It's a plant. We know this. Let's get rolling. Literally, let's roll. Let us roll legally. Mother truckers. All right. Wanted to check out this article someone sent over here this week from Time Magazine titled The Health Hazards of Legalizing Cannabis. What are your thoughts? What do you think they're going to poke and prod at here? I didn't read the article yet. I appreciate you guys sending me the articles throughout the week. So we got some stuff to talk about, but I want to check this out, see what kind of, I'm going to guess it's some of the same rigmarole we've been seeing here pop up the last couple of weeks and some newspaper articles and that kind of stuff. I'm going to guess they're going to say children are going to get into it. Smoke is going to be everywhere. What are they? Forklift drivers are going to be high. And also DUIs are going to go up a ton. Any other thoughts? That's usually what we run into with these folks. Burton says the most cultivated plant in history. Amen, brother. Yeah. Javin, what's up, my man? Javin's in the house. What's up, dude? All right, so let's see what they're talking about here. Joe says, what are the health hazards of being an alcoholic? Hey, touche. That's a fair question. Let's see what they're talking about here. Oh, they're bringing up the film, 1936 documentary film Reefer Madness. Let's read this quick. They're talking about Reefer Madness. What do I got? In a dramatic example of government yielding to public opinion, the Senate has introduced legislation to legalize cannabis on the federal level. That's what we just talked about. Though passage before the November election is unlikely, this long overdue legislative action seeks to update a statute stemming from marijuana's demonized image as depicted in the film Reefer Madness. This federal statute constrasts that with the claims of therapeutic benefits of cannabis, biochemical constituents such as cannabidiol and THC, when the sole FDA indication for their use is a rare childhood seizure disorder. While the scientific information to officially endorse cannabis products as having therapeutic benefits is lacking, a recent Pew Research Center survey found that 88% of Americans felt that cannabis should be legal for medical or recreational use. Okay, so where are you going at here? Where are they going? Who could have anticipated that in less than 2 decades, a naturally grown recreational intoxicant, cannabis, would go mainstream and begat a tsunami of popular demand for legalization and a gold rush of commercialization fueled by $61 billion of investment. Some may see this as an impressive demonstration of social progress, while others consider it the result of reckless and ill-conceived policies that have created a tangled matrix of laws and conflicting incentives based on confused logic and incomplete knowledge. So now they're talking about Americans have access to this recreational intoxicant that is arguably no more dangerous than alcohol or tobacco without fear of severe punishments. So what are you guys getting at? What is their fear? Oh, here we go. He says in a glaring recent example of governmental missteps, on March 17th, Governor Kathy Hochul declared New York State's commercialized cannabis licensing and distribution system a disaster and announced a top to bottom review. Hochul's executive order was intended to give New Yorkers greater access to cannabis. The American Heart Association had issued a warning on the higher risks of cardiovascular events associated with heavy cannabis use. This was based on a National Institutes of Health study of nearly 435,000 American adults reported last November, which found that daily use of cannabis was associated with a 25% increased likelihood of heart attack and 42% increased likelihood of stroke when compared to non-use of the drug. The risk of negative mental health effects is increased about 5 times by regular use of high-potency cannabis. High potency refers to the fact that the commercialized pot sold legally today is not the same naturally growing weed smoked by constituents of the counterculture. Interesting. So basically, they're going on to say, as a practicing psychiatrist, she states, I have witnessed these effects firsthand as a number of cannabis-induced medical and mental disturbances, particularly in young people, show up in our hospital emergency rooms and are referred to me for consultation. And while the rising number of adverse effects occurring in the wake of legislative reform are disturbing, they are not surprising, rather anticipated. Okay, so that's where she's going at with this. Mohican, what's up, man? Were they on exactly? Were they on other medications? What? Where's the data? Where's the actual data here? This feels very much like a lot of the articles we've been seeing, which is, I can tell you, I've seen it. Where's the facts? She quotes a study here that from an NBC News report that this team concluded in 2020 that high potency cannabis can have lifelong mental health consequences. Interesting. So we have still the fear mongering going on at the national level. Again, this was coming in from Time Magazine. But again, doesn't this sound pretty familiar with the article that we saw written just in the Times Villager that we put that response out to? Feels like there's some stuff going on out there as far as the timing of this stuff and that. I find it kind of interesting. I guess we'll have to keep our eyes on it, and we got to keep calling it out when we see it. We had touched base on Minnesota last couple of weeks, and it looks like they agreed on something. So I wanted to see what that was. Looks like they got the green light for a speedier timeline for launching licensed cannabis businesses and for growing. I know that they had been working on trying to get some grows allowed before they open dispensaries, which would make sense. Mohican said anything can have lifelong mental and medical effects, right? I agree with that. So it looks like this bill passed 34 to 32, so it was a close one. So later this year, it looks like is when they decided that they'll be able to start growing their commercial crops. Again, they're looking to open dispensaries as of right now is January 1st. And again, if you wait till January 1st to allow the grows, you're not going to have any product. So that was the issue that they figured out that they ran into. So the bill will speed up the process for getting cannabis dispensaries lined up by giving them a route to pre-approval of operating licenses. Makes sense to me. Lawmakers voted to allow the office to start issuing the pre-approvals this summer. Supporters say that would allow them to secure funding, rent real estate, and take other steps to get up and running. Makes sense. Joe with the comment of the night, the government affects my mental health. Love it. Yeah, that's fair. So it looks like they've got a quote here from Senator Lindsey Port. This newly regulated, legalized, and regulated industry is in its infancy, and we're here to continue the work we started last year. Like any new industry, it will not be fully grown on day one, right? Um, the bill works to ensure a successful market launch and support the industry and Minnesotians involved in this industry as it grows and develops. Excuse me. So it looks like they also they tied in some hemp derived. Let's see what we got here with the hemp products. Um, this proposal would also put the Office of Cannabis Management in charge of enforcement for hemp derived edible products and medical cannabis. Those responsibilities currently fall to the Department of Health. Many of the recommendations of the bill came from the new agency overseeing the cannabis market. Okay, so they're going to shift who's in charge of the hemp derived edible products. Interesting. I wonder what the Department of Health knows about hemp derived edible products, which is probably not much, where hopefully the Office of Cannabis Management is acting for the right reasons as far as the benefits that hemp derived edible products have. And hopefully we can see, well, it'll be interesting to see. Again, it should, but we know how politics work. So it looks like the policy changes come less than a year after lawmakers voted to permit adults 21 and up to possess and use small amounts of cannabis and to grow up to 8 plants at home. The state intends to elevate social equity applications from minority communities or those that were disproportionately affected by the enforcement of criminal laws around cannabis. Again, later this year, they'll be able to start growing. Excuse me. Republicans raised concerns. Here we go. About setting up temporary guidelines that might vary from permanent ones and allowing people to begin commercial growing before they have a state license. Here's one of the Republican senators. I understand that there are folks that want to have the cannabis industry open and running today, but I think for the health and safety of Minnesotians, for public safety, for just regulatory integrity and an open and transparent process that would allow, wow, this is a long sentence, man. It's really important that we don't do an end around. Well, why not? You got to get things rolling out, man. How long we see how long things take to get finalized, to get anything moving. So if you're worried that this is going to open the door for what, too much growing, or I swear it's like they got to drag it back. Well, we took a couple steps forward. Wait, slow down. We can't be going that fast. We can't be that close to legalizing. Others suggested that rushing the setup process could spur unintended consequences. It looks like they tried to amend the bill to add a misdemeanor offense for minors in possession of cannabis. How can we say it's wrong and a petty misdemeanor, or maybe even a misdemeanor for repeat offenses for a child to be drinking a beer, but it's okay for them to be walking down the street with a bag of cannabis or smoking a joint? Is the Republican senator? He says, "Where's the consistency in that?" We should not pretend that what we did for decades wasn't harmful for people, and to undo the harm, we don't need to do something different," said Senator Aaron May. Here we go. Edible hemp-derived THC products like edibles and seltzers have been allowed since 2022. The recreational cannabis law didn't immediately greenlight the creation of dispensaries for full-fledged cannabis. A pair of Native American tribes have opened dispensaries on the reservations under sovereign authority, and others have plans to open dispensaries of their own soon. It looks like they've pressed lawmakers to let them start the process of getting pre-approval for license early so they can begin growing, obtaining capital, and buying property for their business. Again, makes sense. And that's maybe where it's different than a lot of your other businesses, because most everything else you can, make it quickly, get them off the production line. Boom, here's your product that we're going to be selling here in a couple weeks. Cannabis, you got to grow it. So sounds like they're going to be able to get that grow going before the dispensaries are okay to open, which again is what you need to do. And again, that with how many states have legalized, you would think they would have had this figured out when they wrote the bill in the first place. But as we state, for whatever reason, cannabis has got to be difficult and confusing when it comes to how politicians get along with each other. Javin says cannabis unfortunately needs to be regulated for public safety. He says it just takes time for the states to figure out how to do that quickly. This is true. I think we had one more article, if I'm not mistaken. We do. This was interesting to see. Analysis found that fewer young adults driving impaired following cannabis legalization. Um, the legalization of cannabis in Washington state is not associated with any uptick in the percentage of young people driving under the influence of either cannabis or alcohol, according to data published in the journal Prevention Science. A team of researchers with the University of Washington assessed DUI trends among young adults immediately prior to the adoption of adult use sales and for the next 5 years. Awesome. Um, Joe says, I do not want my product traced by how much I smoke. Fair. Uh, so, again, we got a team that was looking at these DUI trends from the Prevention Science Journal, and it found fewer young people engaged in DUI alcohol. Among young people who use cannabis, fewer acknowledged driving under its influence. Trends may reflect some success in reducing DUI, but additional detection and prevention efforts are needed, which would make sense. That's according to the study's author. And then I was just, when I Googled that, that matched the findings that are similar to those of the 2022 study. And that was from, where was this one done again? I want to pull that up. This is a nationwide study done by adults in states where the use of cannabis is legal. So interesting to see those connect and to be showing the same data. And that is good to hear. Very good to hear. So, did you guys see anything else this week that we didn't get a chance to talk about as far as cannabis in the news or cannabis questions? Anybody doing anything crazy this weekend? Anyone jumping out of an airplane or, anything exciting this weekend? Gonna be doing, killed some weeds today over here in the yard. That was awesome. Now I got to wait a little bit till that finishes up. Then we got to dethatch all that, man. Trying to make it look like a putting green out there. We got the little one coming, and I want the yard to be nice and set up for her when she's ready for it. We've always been battling a bunch of weeds and potholes and stuff in the yard. So just some yard work on this end, seeing some family for us. And got to make a trip to the legal state to make sure that we purchase our product legally, even though when we come back through Wisconsin, it's not legal. It's so stupid. You bet, Joe. Jill says alcohol needs to be a lot more safer. Felt that. But again, guys, we are, it's in the news. We're talking, it's going to be rescheduled, which again, it should be descheduled, but it's a start, taking it down from 1 to 3. We got to see what those details are. We just got to keep on this. We got to keep on the politicians, and and it's not just about cannabis. It's about a lot of things where we can't keep letting money get involved in politics and what we are told is best for us. We got to keep it real. We got to stick together as people. It's an interesting time to be alive, right? We got all these freedoms, but then we get forced certain directions with how we got to do things, and it's in our best interest, or this is legal, that's not legal. Just keep your head on a swivel, right? We got to keep working together. My local ski area is still open. I may head up to the mountain here. Oh, awesome, man. That's what's up. No skiing around here, I don't think. I'm not one to ski, so I don't really know, but haven't seen any mountains covered in snow here for a little bit. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody stopping out tonight. Fridays, I don't like to stay on here too long. I know a lot of people got things going on for the weekend, but appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that share button. Appreciate you guys helping us get the word out there. And let's keep doing this thing. Let's keep making the waves. We got a ways to go, but we're making waves. So let's keep rolling. No pun intended. Or was it? I'm not sure. You'll find out later. Have a good night, guys. Bye, beans.